Hi, welcome to another session of JavaScript. So from now onwards, we are going to see that how we can use JavaScript to manipulate the elements that we have on our web page. So we took an example in the beginning of JavaScript that let's say if we have to have a button, let's say a register button, on the click of that button, you want a pop-up to appear. So just imagine that if you have to implement that functionality, what will you do? So the first thing you'll have to do is that you'll have to access the button. You will have to know when the button got clicked. And on the click of the button, you will have to access the pop-up and you will have to change the visibility of pop-up to visible. Now, for all of these, you will have to access the elements that is there on the web page. So how, let's say when our code is running on the browser, how JavaScript accesses the element and what enables it, we will see that. And we will see that how we are going to change the styling using JavaScript, how we are going to have event listeners, and a lot we will see as we go ahead in this session and upcoming sessions. So the first thing is that how we are going to access the elements. So this power of accessing any element on the web page is given to JavaScript through DOM. So DOM is next and very important thing that we will discuss, and make sure you understand this really well. So obviously the question is, what is DOM? And you might have heard this word a lot in case you have been developing stuffs. So DOM stands for Document Object Model. What does that mean? So to understand what are these things, okay, what do we mean by document, what do we mean by object, what is DOM, let's read a definition. So the definition, I'll say, is long, but let's read it one by one and you will understand it really well. The document object model is the data representation of the objects that comprise the structure and content of a document on the web. It represents the page so that programs can change the document structure, style, and content. The DOM represents the document as objects. That way, languages like JavaScript can connect to the page. So the connection that is being built is built using DOM. So let's try and understand what is this talking about. So for that, first let's try and understand programs can change the document structure, style, and content. The DOM represents the document as objects. So what do we mean by document? So basically, document is nothing but your web page, right? So there are different representations of web page. So first, let's say you have just written this code. So the source code that you have written is one representation of the web page. It's all the code there. The second is that, let's say your web page is rendered on the browser. Okay, so whatever source is there, it will get rendered and the elements will be rendered accordingly and you will see a page. So this is just another representation of the source code. Based on how this is rendered on the browser, you will see different results for the source code. This DOM is another representation of this web page or the document. So the web page is the document and document object module is the another representation, in which, if you see here, the DOM represents the document as objects. So everything that you will see on the web page, the buttons, the headings, they will be represented as objects. So we will try and understand what are objects, but for now, just understand that document object model or DOM is just the representation of the objects that comprise the structure and content of our document on the web. Basically, document here is a web page. So it will just represent the web page as objects. Okay. And why does it represent such objects? So the agenda is that the languages are able to connect to these objects and they are able to change the document structure, styling, and content. So basically the manipulation that we want to do on the web page, we will be able to do using DOM. Now let's try and understand. So let's say I have written this particular code. So this is a document. Okay. Now what happens is that this particular document is right now a source code. Now another representation is that when it gets rendered on the browser. Okay, so when it gets rendered on the browser, obviously this beautiful site it is not going to make. It will be this particular code will be a very plain site, we will see that. But what happens is that after it is rendered on the browser, this DOM is also created. how does DOM look like? So basically, DOM is nothing but a tree-like structure in which we have objects. So here, this HTML tag will be an object. This head tag will be an object. Okay, and this complete thing is a document. So basically, this is also a document. This is also document. It's just that this particular document is the object representation of this particular document. So everything that we have over here, starting from HTML to head to body, will be objects. Now what happens if you see here is that a kind of hierarchy is forming and a tree-like structure is forming. So here we have HTML. HTML has two children, head and body. So here we will have HTML, head and body. Now inside head we have meta tags, we have title. So here we just have title. So this is not supposed to be meta, this is supposed to be title, my bad. Okay, so this is title. So inside head we have title. Now inside body we have h1, we have button, we have ul. Okay, these are the direct children of body. So we have h1, button and ul. So it's a tree like structure forming. Inside ul we have three different list items. Okay, and now head is HTML of child, this h1 is HTML of body, sorry, this h1 is child of body. Now this h1 and button and ul, since they are, I'll say, children of same parent, they are siblings. So these child and siblings, I'm just trying to make you understand. So basically this is a document object model of this particular document. So this is automatically created. You don't have to bother about it. You don't have to put in efforts to create this DOM. This will be created and given to you. I will tell you how to access this and how we can go ahead and access these objects so that we can change or we can do the modifications we want to. So till now you have heard this word object again and again and again. So I'll just tell you in brief what is an object. As we go ahead and we will have, I'll say, very detailed discussion on object. For now, let's just have a quick overview of objects. So basically in real life, what is an object? Everything that exists around you is an object. A person, a table, a car, a plant. So everything that exists around you is an object. A person, a table, a car, a teacher, your friend, everything is an object. Now any object that you see around, it has got two things. Let's say this is a teacher, she's a teacher. Okay, so every object is having some properties. Okay, let's say if this is a teacher, then her properties maybe will be name. Okay, her properties will be what is the subject she teaches, what is the occupation. Okay, and then we have some methods. Okay, so we have properties. Every object will have properties and methods. So properties are more like adjectives. Okay, like if this is a car, what is the color of the car, what is the name of the car, it's much more like that. Methods are like verbs. Like if she is a teacher, what are the methods that are going to apply? So maybe if let's say there's a method bio, the method bio will just go ahead and return the bio about that teacher. This is a method, it's a function we have talked about. Okay, and let's say there could be other method teach. Okay, in teach, we won't write the function, but this is a functionality. So basically every object will have certain functionalities and several properties. Similarly, in coding also, in object oriented programming, we try and simulate the real world environment. Just like a teacher is a real world thing, similarly we want to simulate real world environment, and that is known as object oriented programming, because we try and create objects literally like real world objects. So just like we had properties and methods here, we have h1 as the object. So everything that you see will be an object. So everything that you see here will be an object, and everything will have certain methods and properties. So this h1 will have certain methods, okay, and certain properties. So if you see, the properties could be color, it could be font size. Okay, so there are certain property. What is the style? We will see in detail. I'm just giving you an overview right now just to give you the idea, the exact methods, the exact properties we will see. And even the properties could be nested. So let's say one property is style. Okay, and inside that style there are other properties. Let's say color is a property, this is font size a property. So let's say there are different properties in the property. there is another sort of property as well. Let's say in name also, let's say name is a outer property. Okay, inside that it could have last name, it could have first name. Okay, so we will see that as well. Now in the method, the h1 can have different kind of methods. If let's say the method could be that if you hover on this particular text, what is going to happen? Okay, or maybe if there is a button, the method could be click. Okay, so basically for now just understand that objects are nothing but I'll say a representation of real world environment. For every object it will have certain methods and properties. So we have seen objects pretty much in detail in another sessions. For now, this much of information is sufficient to let's go ahead. And as we go ahead and we write the code, we will try and understand more about objects. One more thing you need to understand is that if let's say there is an object, I create an object, let's say car. So it will have the properties like that. So let's say we will put name, and let's say I put Honda City. Okay, so this is one property, and let's say there's another property color. Okay, let's say the color is red. Okay, now let's say there is a method. Okay, so the method will be drive, and we will have, let's say the method will have function, and we will let's say have a simple console.log. For now we will not be creating objects. This is how we create objects, and creating objects we will see in detail. I'm just telling you that these objects are created already for you. You just have to know how to use them. So for using that, let's say if I have to access this name property of this car, I will do car.name. Okay, if I have to access color property, I'll do car.color. If I have to access this method drive, I'll do car.drive. Okay, so now let's say even in name also we have, let's say name, and we have inside this, let's say we have model. Okay, and we have, let's say brand. So many times what will happen is that there will be object inside object, this kind of thing you can imagine. So in that case what we will do, we will access this model using car.name.model. Okay, so this much of information is sufficient for you for now to try and understand that how we are accessing the objects, how we are accessing the documents, how we are accessing the elements that we have in DOM. Okay, so the first question that must be coming in your mind is that, okay, let's say we have this particular DOM, but how do we access the objects that we have inside this DOM? So to access the object, things are pretty much simple. As I said that you don't have to create, this is already created. And all of this can be accessed using this document object. So basically you can think that this document is the root object, the super object. Everything will come inside this particular document. So let's go ahead and see some of it. And obviously as we go ahead in these next sessions, we will see these things in detail. For now, let's just try and access one or two objects or one or two elements that we have on our web page. We will see the same code that we have over here on the browser. So let's say I go to my console and I just type document and I hit enter. So if you see, as soon as you type document, you will get the document object over here. And if you have to see what is there inside document object, I'll click on this particular arrow. And if you see, you have this complete HTML code that you have over here. But if you see, if you click over here, you have head. And if you click over here, you have body. Now let's say if you want to access this head. So to access the head, we have different ways. Right now we will go ahead and try this. We will do document dot first element child, and let's say I hit enter. So now as soon as I do document dot first element child, it will give me the first child it has. So the first child is HTML. Everything that we have, this head and body, is inside HTML only. So this HTML is the first child. Now the question is still there, how to access head. So for that I'll do document dot first element child dot first element child. So now what is happening here is that this HTML is the first child of document. Now this head is the first child of HTML. So by this particular statement, I am first doing give me the first child of document. So this document dot first element child gives me HTML, and you can think that this particular complete thing gives me HTML, and then we do HTML dot first element child, which gives me head. So these things are happening on the backend, and as soon as I hit enter, I get head. And if you see, I get all the elements that is there inside the head. So let's say if I want to access this title, I'll do document dot first element child dot first element child dot first element child dot first element child. So this is title. In case you are wondering, oh my god, this is so complex, we are using this such a big line to access one thing, but that is not the case. Things are pretty much easier than this. I'm showing this just to make yourself acquainted. For accessing the title, we will have comparatively shorter statements. Okay, now we have another thing. We have, just like we have first element child, we have last element child. Let's say I want to access the body. So in that case, I'll do document dot first element child. Why I'm doing first element child? Because I want to first get access to HTML. Once I have access to HTML object, I'll do now last element child, and this gives me the body. So similarly, let's say for body, if I inside the body we have children as h1, button, and ul. Inside the ul we have li. Li is not the direct child of body. So if you have to access, let's say, li, last li that we have. So first you will do document dot first child dot last child dot last child again, and inside this we have dot last child. So this is how you will access. But again, since we are not going to code in such complex ways, let's go ahead in the upcoming sessions and see that how we can access these objects that we have in DOM, and eventually see how we can manipulate the elements that we have in our web page.